When Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order came out, it was a really pleasant surprise. If you tone down some of the stuff from The Force Unleashed and combine it with a Souls-like, you pretty much have that. People have been looking forward to the sequel for quite a while, and going in, we've got some important stuff that you need to hear. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 things you need to know about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Starting off at number 10, so combat has been expanded. From all the early gameplay and trailers and stuff, we can tell Respawn is serious about expanding combat options in Jedi Survivor. The original game only had two different stances: single lightsaber and double-sided lightsaber, which, I mean, that's not bad. There were also a couple of moves where you could use two lightsabers at once, but that was about it. And while it worked for what it was doing, the styles weren't really that different from each other, functionally speaking. And when we heard they were making a sequel, this was kind of the thing that we hoped that they would improve upon, and it looks like they did. So now they've expanded the amount of stances from 2 to 5. The game starts with Cal having the 2 stances from the last game, eventually learning dual wielding, which looks surprisingly like a fast but maybe weaker style. There's also a cross guard style modeled after Kylo Ren's saber, and it looks like it's going to be about slow but really heavy attacks. And then an unconventional style of a lightsaber in one hand and a blaster in the other. Now there's very much not a lot of long range options in Fallen Order, so having an actual blaster to use sounds pretty exciting. In one of the gameplay demonstrations, the devs showed off a sort of Jedi Deadeye, where you target multiple enemies and shoot them all at once. It's not Devil May Cry, though. You can't just switch between every stance on the fly. You can equip 2 stances at a time, and you switch between them, adding a bit of a layer of strategic equipping of these stances. Along with those stances, Cal gets some new Force powers. Respawn's a bit tight-lipped about these, but from the trailers, we've seen a Force Slam, where you can throw an enemy on the ground, a pull power, where Cal can grab enemies and use them as human shields and mobile turrets, like this guy with a heavy blaster who keeps shooting even after Cal grabs him. It also looks like there's a new super meter. When you charge it up, you can unleash this area of effect slowdown on all the enemies around you, kind of like a supercharged version of the slow Force power in the first game. While I wouldn't say the Force is necessarily unleashed here, it does look like they're expanding quite a bit beyond the first game. All of the Force powers get their own skill tree, just like the 5 stances. So there's at least 6 skill trees compared to the original game's 1. So I think that it's safe to say there's a lot more options in combat for Jedi Survivor, and I'm looking forward to seeing just how that works. At number 9 is rideable mounts and new movement abilities. A new thing that really jumped out at people: Jedi Survivor has mounts. These creatures can be used to run around the environment or glide through the air, and it sounds like getting around the expanded planets is gonna be a lot faster in this game. They're not just for riding either. You can attack while mounted, and apparently they're not just unlocks, they're creatures that you can tame in the wild. How that actually works, I don't completely know, but I expect these mounts to be limited to the planets you can catch them on. I don't know how interested Cal is in transporting a zoo around all the time. But along with mounts, Cal also has a bunch of new movement abilities, like an air dash to land faraway jumps, an ascension cable that seems to work like a grappling hook, which, yeah, sorry, but I am a huge sucker for grappling hooks. It also seems like he can use his lightsaber to kind of slide down certain surfaces, like the tapestry move from Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. Overall, seems like movement greatly expanded in Jedi Survivor. At number 8, some of the planets are, like, way, way, way bigger. There's a few things you'd obviously expect for a sequel. One is bigger planets. The thing that surprised me is just how much bigger. If you remember the first game, most of the explorable area on the planets you visit is pretty small and self-contained. Not linear exactly, but they weren't huge. In Jedi Survivor, that's changed. Now, it's not exactly an open world. It's kind of more like God of War Ragnarok, I'd say. A lot of ground to cover, though. A lot of optional areas to find. Not all just about exploring either. This planet has a town called Rambler's Reach, and it's filled with people to talk to, shops, which implies that there's things you can buy, side quests to do. The original game didn't have any of this stuff. One interesting tidbit we've heard from the gameplay previews is that there's kind of Breath of the Wild style Jedi chambers, shrines, where you can use your abilities to solve puzzles, and you earn rewards and skill points. What the rewards are, pretty vague at this point, but we do know that you can apparently get perks from completing these chambers. Again, what they do and how they work, I don't know for sure, but you've seen perk systems in other games, so it's probably something like that. I think this is a good idea, especially with the semi-open world nature. And the only confirmed planets we've seen so far are Kobo and Coruscant, the Imperial capital. I expect Coruscant's more of a story area than a full planet like the original game. Some of the planets are going to be shorter for sure, while others are more open-ended. I expect probably 1 or 2 planets similar in size to Cabal, but that's also just speculation at this point. At number 7, there's supposedly much greater enemy variety. Not going to say the first game's enemy roster was weak, but this one does look like a big step up. First game was mostly Cal versus various Imperials, maybe an animal here and there. Right from the start, it looks like this one's going to be throwing all kinds of enemies at you. For one, there's these guys called Bedlam Raiders who look pretty tough on their own, and they're led by this guy called Ravis, who's the only enemy that Respawn is actually named for the game. Anybody nostalgic for the prequels, it looks like there's some Separatist droids to slice up. All the variants look like they're here, the standard ones, the droid commandos, the Magna Guards, droidicas, blah, blah, blah. And even if you don't care a whole lot about the prequels, show me a Star Wars game that's good and it's not fun to fight these guys. I don't think you can. The trailers also showed off a lightsaber-wielding bounty hunter of some kind. Bounty hunters were some of the toughest enemies in the first game, and I expect they'll probably be more of a presence here. A lot of random monsters for Cal shown in the trailers, but most exciting is probably the Rancor scene in the final trailer. That's going to be fun. The most mysterious enemy is this hooded figure from the teaser with a red lightsaber. Clearly major enemy, but let's hold off on talking about him for now. Save it for story discussion. Also, let's talk about dismemberment a bit. A lot of people complained about how you couldn't slice up stormtroopers in the original game. It let you chop up droids and certain features, but not humanoids. That is a thing of the past. You can dismember everything now. At number 6 is new and old allies. A lot of features in the game that remind me of God of War Ragnarok. The more open environments, the mounts, the allies. Unlike the first game, there will be parts where Cal actually has to bring a friend along to help him out, and the characters aren't just for show. The most prominent new character seen in the trailers is a mercenary named Bo Dakuna, who's got a blaster and a jetpack and seems to be an important figure in the story. There's at least one returning character who will tag along with Cal, Marin, the Night Sister ally from the first game. These characters probably won't have quite as much going on as the Boy of War, but they can fight enemies on their own, and while you can't directly control them, Cal can command them to perform certain special attacks. From everything I've seen, it doesn't look like these characters are permanent party members or anything. It seems like they're only available for certain sequences. So much about Star Wars is camaraderie, though, and allies helping each other out a bit would really, I think, assist in making it feel like Star Wars a little more. Not that that was a problem in the first game. Like, I never really felt like it wasn't Star Wars in the first one, you know? But it never hurts to improve. At number 5, they included fast travel this time, which, yeah. You remember in the first one where if you want to go collectible hunting, you had to run back to your ship, slowly travel from one planet to another, manually run all the way back to the place you want to go? Yeah, it took forever because there was no fast travel. So it shouldn't surprise you that one of the most highly requested features for the sequel was a fast travel system, and they listened. That's good. Survivor has fast travel, though we don't know exactly how it works yet. But to go along with fast travel, they're also improving the game's holomap to make it more readable, so it's more obvious where you've already been, where you haven't been, and what's blocking you, if there's some part of the map that requires an ability you don't have yet. Relatively simple changes, but quality of life stuff that's definitely going to make it a better experience. At number 4, there's a ton of customization options. You're still playing a specific character in this game, like you're still Cal Kestis, but it looks like Respawn decided a lot more options for customizing is good. And I agree. The original game actually did have a ton of options for making your lightsaber your own, and a whole lot of ponchos for your main man. No disrespect to the ponchos. You know I'm rocking one whenever I get to Mexico and Red Dead. But it sounds like Cal's gonna have a few more unique options here. It's not just clothes customization either. You can customize hair, give him different beards. You can go nuts, probably make babyface Cal from the first game, or turn him into crazy hobo Cal. Of course, lightsaber customization is back and just as in depth, but now you can swap out colors and parts on BD1 as well. You can even customize the blaster. Now, it's all just cosmetic, so if you wanted something more like God of War where different costumes actually affect your stats and weapon customization give you different benefits, that's not what we're talking about. But hey, the absence of all that fluff might be a breath of fresh air to some people. I'm just trying to set expectations. We don't want people coming back and saying, "Oh, Falcon misinformed me," although that doesn't typically happen. I am pretty good. At number 3, the story is mostly unknown. Takes place 5 years after Fallen Order, 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. from A New Hope, but we don't really know what's going on. We do know it's a direct continuation of the first game, so the Empire is still relentlessly hunting Cal, and apparently has been for 5 years. He's still looking for ways to rebuild the Jedi Order. He's got a new buddy, wields a blaster, but the thing that's really gotten people's attention is this mysterious figure in a Bacta-tank. There are a few things we can say about him from the trailer. For one thing, he's got one arm. You can see that in the reveal trailer when he exits the tank. Curiously, the hooded figure from the teaser trailer also only seems to have one arm, so could be the same guy. We also know this character's from the High Republic era. The symbol seen on his tunic gives that away. If you're unaware, the High Republic is the new era that's set 100 years in the past during the height of the Old Republic's power. Seems like this era is going to play a major part in the story, and it's likely this character's the main villain. Considering he's possibly the last surviving Jedi from that era, it's possible that he is the actual titular Jedi survivor. And number 2, this game's going to take up a lot of space, at least on PC. If you're getting the game on PC, you're probably going to have to clear out some, because this is doozy. If you're interested in playing it, it's 155 gigabytes on the PC. That's what it says on the Steam page. That's bigger than the frankly huge Red Dead Redemption 2. So this game is not small. On consoles, the requirement's a lot smaller, though. Only 43.98 gigabytes according to Xbox, which is actually smaller than the first game. So the reason I imagine it's so much bigger on PC is because you're not going to automatically have an SSD, so they put in a lot of redundancies to improve texture streaming, I would assume. Also, let's just be honest. Textures are probably going to be a lot higher resolution on the PC as well, because you're actually going to be able to see it. On a console, it's a little more negligible, and you can get away with a little more. I imagine, though, slower hard drives are going to be the reason they did this. At least the actual system requirements aren't that egregious, though. If you've got a relatively modern PC, you'll probably be able to run it. You're just probably going to need to delete some games before then. And finally, at number 1 is release date information for you. Jedi Survivor is finally coming out on April 28th, simultaneously on PC and the next-gen consoles. It won't be coming to the PS4 and Xbox One, so you gotta have the latest generation to play. As usual with these games, there is a deluxe edition, which comes with some additional cosmetics for diehards, but unlike a lot of recent EA games, it doesn't get you early access to the game. Also, as surprise, but a welcome one, there is no complex chart you have to memorize to know when you can pick stuff up. It's going to be available on April 28th or the 27th if you book a flight to New Zealand, although that involves time zones and relative perception. That's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.